I just wanted to do a really quick video because of the whole pandemic situation and the fact that we're not doing anything at the moment. We're currently doing a crowdfunder to try and get the Christmas show online. And as part of our crowdfunder, we have on our page like the cost of things and how much we want to raise, obviously, and we wanted to put what we're spending the money on. And one of the questions that people have asked me is, why don't you have any costume costs on there? Which is really relevant because obviously costumes are like a massive part of any production. They're so important. So I'm going to tell you why we don't have any costume costs on there, and that's because we're going to use stock costumes. So we're really lucky because my mum is an extremely talented costumier and she makes all of our costumes for us. So not only do we not have to spend quite as much as a lot of other companies would have to spend having their costumes made, but it also means that we get really beautiful, unique costumes because my mum is incredibly talented. But yeah, it is a really good point, and costumes are very expensive. So I just wanted to do a really quick video to just let you know a bit about some of the costs involved with costumes. So obviously we make them all from scratch. So most of them, well, they're all made over here. So these are Mum's machines and Mum's workbench. We have some fabrics in stock. Hang on, I'm going to turn my camera. So as I was saying, we do have some fabrics in stock here. And there's fabrics in here as well, and in here. So we do have, oh, it's all nice and messy. So we do have some, but obviously we don't have a huge amount. We're very, 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 very good at placing our patterns and making sure that we use every last scrap of fabric. So we don't have tons of fabric in stock because we use it all. We do have quite a lot of net though. Because when you need net, you need a lot of net. So fabric, so net probably costs a couple of quid a metre, so that's not too bad at all. Some of these more fancy nets will be more expensive. Typical lycra, so just kind of like a plain lycra like this, you're probably going to get sort of £7-8 maybe a metre. Then some of the fancier lycras, like some of these foils like this or metallics, they're going to come in over £10 a metre easy. And some of these holographic ones will be more expensive as well. If you look at some of the lycras like this one, which looks incredible under stage lights, this is all holographic. This one can go up to sort of £20 a metre and then some. Some of the more, you know, the fancier the lycras get, particularly lycras because they're stretchy, the more expensive they're going to be, and that's per metre. So if you think how many metres are actually in a costume, then it soon adds up. Some of the more simple fabrics, like say these skirts for example, they're a bit creased. They're probably maybe £6, £7, £8 a metre, but in a circle skirt there's at least a couple of metres per skirt. And then obviously we've got the lycra waistbands as well, so the lycra will cost more, and then they've got elastic encased, so they'll have the cost of the elastic as well. And then obviously they've got the matching leotards, so you have to then match the lycra, so sometimes you have to pay a little bit more to make sure it matches. Then they obviously, those ones in particular, have big underskirts, so the fabric for those is just meters and meters. Some of our bigger costumes, like for example the Dickensian skirts that go all the way down to the ground and have sort of big hoops inside them, they have meters and meters of fabric in them, so the fabric soon starts to add up, and when it's sort of flecked with sparkle like this, which is beautiful, but obviously that does make it more expensive. These sort of metallic lycras, they're probably going to be about £10 a metre if you're lucky, if you're good at finding them, which Mum is really good at finding them. Then you have all the trimmings, like so these stretch sequins here, so these are actually stretch on a sort of backing. They are a couple of quid a metre, and when you look at sort of how many metres there are per costume, and then obviously they're on each of the costumes, then that's the sequins. And then like for example these costumes, they have loads of different like lines of different sequins on them. So and then like little crystals at the end, and then beads as well. So all the trimmings, that's on the base of a leotard and on the neckline of the leotard as well, with the details of the trimmings. All of our costumes have really special little details, so they've all got kind of like, you know, jingle bells at the collar, or they've got extra cuffs that have jingle bells on them, so that's like a velvet fabric with a glitter ball, and then the jingle bells on top. That's another lycra that is got the holographic print into it, so that's a bit more expensive. They all have gloves with them, they all have accessories, hair accessories, or different kinds of jewellery. Then obviously everything is also trimmed to match, so we have making sure that like the collars match the skirts, and we have some fur on things, and we have like little fur things here. We like detail, so even down to the little applique on the skirt. This isn't printed on, this is actually sewn on and has sequin trim. Fringing is another thing that's quite expensive, so I mean that's a couple of pounds a metre, and once you start wrapping fringing round and round a dress, it starts to add up. Obviously we do use quite a lot of feathers as well, because, you know, we're a showgirl company as well. So I mean we have feathers down here, and it obviously depends on the length of the feather, but we use quite long feathers. We don't want to use the little short ones, so we use the nice big long ones, but they I mean they're probably going to be a couple of pounds a feather. Maybe you can get sort of packs for these sort of really long ones, ostrich feathers. You can maybe get a pack for maybe £20, but there's going to be like 5 feathers in it, and if you look at sort of how many feathers are on things, then yeah, the feathers are a very expensive part of the costumes. Then obviously we have all of our accessories, so we have boxes and boxes of these. So there's things like braid or stretch sequin, velcro, tape, any kind of fasteners. We've got stiffener there, any kind of fasteners that we might use, and then we've got all the kind of tapes here and elastics and threads. There's loads and loads of different threads to make sure that we're matching all the different costumes. One of the ladies' hats, I think this is Chelsea, and then that's just the hat, and then obviously it's been trimmed with the same fabric, and then we've made some ribbon from the fabric and made sure that and then she's got some little shorter feathers on there, and then this is one of the boys' hats. You can tell because it's dirtier. And yeah, so he's got sort of ribbon around there that matches his costume as well, and then there's usually some bits of holly that go on the boys' hats as well, and on the girls' hats, but just to make them look a bit more Christmassy. This will need respraying again. Have other accessories too, like they'll very often have gloves and like bracelets, like little things like this that really finish an outfit. So obviously when you're talking about costumes, you're talking about everything, right from the hair right down to their shoes. So obviously dancers will wear their own tights and shoes. Tights cost about sort of 10, 12, 15 pounds. They wear a pair of tights and then a pair of fishnets over the top, which generally cost about the same. We have to make sure that we have tights in stock and ready, because obviously dancers do a lot of high kicks, so they rip a lot, so we need to make sure that we have tights ready for them. But everything else we provide. So everything, it's very rare that our female performers will go on stage not wearing a wig or a hairpiece or something, so we have wigs and hair pieces over here. So we have all different kinds of wigs and hair pieces, and then they have all different hair accessories as well. We have showgirl underwear, because some of our costumes are backless. I'm not going to actually show you the underwear, but yeah, some of our costumes are backless, so they have to wear a particular kind of underwear. So we have to take into consideration absolutely everything. This year, because of COVID, we can't do any costume fittings or anything like that, so we are having to go into our stock costumes and hope against hope that people haven't gained or lost too much weight. I know that Ross is losing a lot of weight at the moment, so we might need to get him a belt. And then we're going to just try and make best of what we've got. So take our measurements and our costumes from last year and hope that our performers still fit into them, and also with some of the other costumes that we've had previously, looking at their measurements and sort of making sure that they've got costumes from our stock that should fit them, and we're gonna work around it that way because that's our only real choice this year. And that's why we don't have any expenses for costumes on our crowdfunder, because we want to save as much money as we possibly can, because we want to make the show happen, and you know, we want to make sure that we're only paying for absolute essentials. And because we have so many costumes that we can use, we know that that's a place where we can save costs. So of course, normally when we do a show, of course there would be a huge amount of costume costs, but this year we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that we're not spending anything on costumes, or if we are, we're spending very, very little.